Monica. Gomez Candia is a woman I met whom I saw twice in my life because she came to the television program, but both times you came, Monica, strange things happened, which is why we couldn't do the interview as we had planned. Because Monica Gomez Candia is not only abducted but also contacted. Hello, Monica, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Hector?
Good. Well, can you confirm that both times you came to the television program, strange things happened? And can you tell me what strange things happened?
Yes, strange things happened. The second time, which was the day we scheduled the second interview. Thank you. A terrible storm broke out before leaving. As it is.
And I just saw something fly past in front of you, I swear. Something flew by, a mini orb passed in front of you, I swear. Later you will see the recording. Those who are following this material on my YouTube channel, on Trust Noche Paranormal, and I tell the people who are listening to us on the pop that this material has images and will be released on my YouTube channel. A mini orb was seen passing in front of you. Sorry, I wanted to point it out, because I'm sure people saw it too. I'm listening to you. First, this last time, the tremendous storm that almost didn't allow you to arrive.
It didn't allow me to arrive. Then, the day we agreed on, a day passed. I had said yes. I think there were 4 days left until the day of the interview. I suddenly lost my voice. I couldn't speak. I had no voice. And I said, no, I have to recover for Sunday. When I had the date for the interview, I did everything possible to be ready for that date because I couldn't speak, literally. I had nothing. My throat didn't hurt. It was something very strange. Then I started having a strange dream because I went to sleep and dreamed of a being, but it wasn't a gray being like the ones I usually see. I saw a black shadow wearing a long black coat because the silhouette was very clear, and a hat. And it said to me, you're not going to tell anything.
Oh God.
It only said that to me. Well, I woke up scared. Then, the next day I was in the kitchen doing my routines, getting ready to go to work. And I felt like something was bothering me on my back, but honestly, I didn't give it much importance because I'm busy with the schedules. Later, when I got ready, I took a shower after work and I was wearing a top. Then I passed by the mirror and I saw a mark. Again, as always, because I usually wake up with marks on my body that still... No, I can't pinpoint exactly what they are. I know I'm an adult, I've had dreams, I've done past life regressions, and I remember things, but I don't know exactly what it is they do to me.
All these marks appear after you have these quote-unquote dreams with entities. In this last case, this entity is especially the one with the hat that told you not to say anything. You wake up and you have this mark. Can the mark be seen? I'm telling the people listening to us on the radio that you're going to show it to me on camera. They'll have to go see it on Paranormal Late Night. Can the mark be seen?
Now I can tell you that a few days have passed, so the mark isn't as clear, but it can be seen.
Let's see. She's going to turn around. She has it on her back. Yes, they are like... Well, but they scraped your skin, let's say. At least I see 3 big thick fingers that have kind of dug into you as if someone dug their nails into your back with a lot of force. And then on the other side, over the right shoulder blade, you have some dots. Yes. Like needle points. Yes. Did those 2 marks appear at the same time?
What?
Did those 2 marks appear at the same time?
Yes, at the same time, and everything was connected, and when I sensed all along that something was happening to me to prevent me from going to your show to talk about all the things we've been discussing about my paranormal experiences with extraterrestrials, UFOs.
I'm going to invite you like The times you came on TV and we're hearing some very strange noises, I'm telling you. The times you came on TV, there was always an interruption. I want to invite you to tell me your story chronologically. How did you start connecting with these beings from other worlds? What were those experiences like, Monica?
Well, from a very young age, I'm telling you, I was around 5 years old and I started hearing noises at my window because I couldn't explain it well on the show due to time constraints. I started hearing noises at the window as if something was calling me. They would gently tap on the window, and it obviously caught my attention. Well, I would go to see, and there was nothing there. Then later at night, I would go to bed and started seeing colored lights. A red light, a white light, and I don't remember the other color, but I remember very well that there were 3 lights that moved all over my body, from the tips of my feet to my head.
Did the lights have a shape?
They were circular shapes, but very small.
Okay.
The size, like another one like this.
Smaller than a ping pong ball, smaller.
Much smaller. They ran all over the body. This was not a dream, I want to clarify. It was not a dream because the lights were off, and suddenly I saw those lights. They moved over my body. And at that moment, I would get scared. I would call my mom, and she would come into the room and say, well, stay calm, this will pass, you need to pray. Well, my mom a believer of the Catholic religion, so she would tell me I had to pray the Our Father. I did it. I'm not going to say I didn't. I did it. I prayed the Our Father, but this didn't stop. I mean, this continued every night. The same thing happened to me. I also want to clarify that I was scared because I didn't know what it was, and my mom didn't explain it to me, and she didn't have an explanation either. She just wanted to comfort me. Of course, your daughter didn't want anything to happen to me or for me to get scared, so the only thing she could do was that. Well, later on, once, this is already witnessed. I mean, I have witnesses. 2 of my friends came to my house and my 2 brothers. We were in our room, and I don't know, we were little, we wanted to play. And we said, let's call the spirits, but we were little. As I said, we weren't aware, we didn't know what we were doing. So we turned off the lights, closed the blinds in my room, and got into a bed. We had bunk beds because we were 3 sisters sleeping in one room, so we had 2 bunk beds. I remember very well that we all got together, covered with blankets around the bed, so that not a single light could be seen. And I don't remember who. Whether it was my sisters or one of my friends said, well, let's see. If there's something here, please give us a sign. And they started knocking on the window like they used to, knock on mine at night.
Oh God.
Well, we, Hector, weren't scared at that moment. Maybe because we were all together, because when it happened to me alone, I was scared. And at that moment, we were all together. I wasn't scared. And my friends laughed and said to me, well, we don't believe you, let's see, give us another sign. And they knocked on the window harder. I can assure you that there was no one to knock on the door or the windows at that moment, because they also knocked on the door. That's what I was going to tell you. They also knocked on the doors. And then at one point, a small triangle appeared to me about this size here.
Yes. Below your throat?
On my throat. And I put it all over my face. It was a very bright white light. And they told me, look, you have something like a mirror on your face. And I looked at myself like this, and I saw that something was shining, but I didn't know where it was. Later, talking with my friends and sisters, they told me it was in the shape of a triangle, but it was small. Well, and it disappeared. Our game ended. I swear to you, to this day, I don't really remember what happened afterward. But that anecdote, that story remained. That was like They asked for a sign to see it. Because I told them and they didn't believe me, no, it can't be. At that moment, they didn't think I was crazy. But as time went by, I started having other experiences. And then, since I didn't have evidence, people didn't believe you. So before, I would say I saw a man at my window who was watching me, this man, who appeared in my dream before going to your show. I had already seen him twice more in my life. It was a black shadow that stood at my window and then walked away.
So it was like showing you, marking territory, like showing you that you were being watched.
Of course, yes. Well, but now I'm not going to get to that point because I later investigated. Because now I'm telling you from the beginning. Later on, I'm more or less with the investigation of what that was. Who that person watching me was. Well, then I started to see ships. Once I saw a ship in the shape of a disc, as they call it, black. It was very close to my house. I was playing because I'm always playing because I was little and I see it pass by, but very slowly, and I looked around and there was no one, like, I don't know, to share it with. Hector, I swear to you, I'm not lying, I'm not fantasizing, I'm not lying. I see them waving at me. They make a gesture like a wave, and I looked and didn't understand. And since I was little, I said, how can a plane be so close? Of course, because I interpreted it as if it were a plane, a helicopter. I had that in my head because I was little. I was 5 or 7 years old. And when I looked, they wave at me.
When you say they waved at you, you could see like windows on the craft and beings inside the craft waving at you.
I swear this to you. And they wave at me and I looked and waved back thinking it was, I don't know, people traveling on a plane. That kept happening. I would tell about it. It would happen again. No one believed me. It continued like that. And as I grew up, I started to see more things, and they communicated with me through household appliances. I was listening to music plugged in with the USB cable to a speaker, and I had gone to take a shower. I was listening to music, and suddenly the music stops and a voice comes on at full volume, saying to me, Monica, are you there?
Oh God.
And it turned off. And that's when I started to get scared because I didn't know anything. I was saying, what's happening to me? Later, further on with my sister too, we were in my room. We were listening to music because it was always, at that moment, we were listening to music in broad daylight. It also turns off the music and a narration starts at full volume. About Chernobyl, they were naming dead people because in the year it says there was the Chernobyl accident, so many people died. Today I don't remember such a number of people. And it started naming them. And we got scared and turned it off, and we turned that off because it scared us, because we were listening to music. Well, and then one night, the same thing, I had the computer plugged in near my bed. The computer was on, and I had a disc inside. But the disc was not playing. And I was sleeping. And this song, which I'm going to tell you about, has an intro before it. The thing is, I was sleeping, and it's always at full volume. The music turns up to full volume, and the voice changes. I mean, it was the same lyrics, but it was like the voice changed. Look what a coincidence. that this song is called Great Encounter, and it said, I traveled much more than an hour today. We make history. Paul says, I started receiving messages like this. I started receiving messages. Then I would sleep and also started receiving messages. I began to have dreams with, this technology doesn't exist, but in the sky there were giant screens with letters I couldn't recognize because I don't know what they were, luminous. And the message was always that humanity is close to ending. It was that humans are the destruction. They always sent me that message. Then, that's when the nightmares started. I had sleep paralysis, and I see two gray beings, one beside me, and the other was near my legs, and they were watching me.
You paralyzed in your bed. This is no longer a dream. You wake up in the middle of paralysis. You paralyzed in your bed, and around you these two beings.
These two beings, yes. They were watching me, and I want to scream, but no sound comes out. I couldn't scream. I was paralyzed. Oh, and I don't recall more. At that moment, they weren't communicating with me. They were just watching me. Then I started to have more marks on my body. Spots appeared, marks here, they appeared. Here, on my throat. Then a code appeared. Here, on my shoulder, which I also showed you. A blue spot appeared here. I mean, I always woke up with spots. And then I started to piece this puzzle together because I said, no, what's happening to me? Because I started dreaming about these beings that I didn't know. Then I began to research on the internet what it was. And I started to feel identified with different stories from other people. And that's when I realized I was becoming one of these abducted people. Because I saw the ships, I could even record them.
How could you record them?
I remember walking down the street and I looked up because something made me look up. It's not that. I looked up and saw a triangular ship that was changing shape to square, to circle. And it moved, which gave me time to take out my phone, film it, and take pictures. That lasted, Hector, about 5 minutes. That's a lot.
When and where did that happen, Che?
That was in San Justo, here in Buenos Aires. In the year 2021, when the pandemic was somewhat relaxed. But we were still in the pandemic. We were still in the pandemic, but it was a bit more relaxed. I could already go out to shop. You know, at first it was with permission. When I finished seeing that, I felt unwell. I got nauseous, had a headache, intense, very intense. And I felt like my body was fading away. And at that moment, I was with my sister. My sister told me to stay calm. Because I was telling her, these ones, they don't leave you alone. They follow you everywhere, she told me. And they always want to hurt you.
Oh, something was heard. Hey. Sorry. I don't want to interrupt your story too much. But two very strange sounds were heard. One when we started this communication, and just now when you were talking about these beings, I heard like a growl. Something strange. And now I hear another strange noise. Very strange noises in the communication, in the connection. I tell the people listening to us on the radio that we are connected via Zoom and that there are no sound effects. Do you hear those noises or not? No.
I heard like your voice just got distorted.
That's why I heard a low sound that interrupted you. I was silent. I wasn't speaking when it happened.
No, when you were just talking to me, I felt like your voice got distorted.
These beings, let me ask you, since you are the one with the experience of connecting with these beings, can these beings interrupt this communication we are having?
Yes. These beings know everything about us, absolutely everything.
So if they are letting us talk up to this point, it's because they want us to tell it. Otherwise, they would have interrupted us already.
They would already be interrupting. Because that day, another thing, the day I was going to your program, I was getting ready to go to your program, and the power went out at my house. Oh God, like all problems. When you plan something and you say, this can't happen to me, like you want to take a shower, for example, and the water doesn't come out, or you want to, I don't know, iron something, and I don't know, it breaks. Well, it was something like that on the day of that pump. There were obstacles on the way to get to your program. And I knew it because first it was revealed to me in a dream. And second, I appeared with the marks. Then I had no voice. And I said, no one is going to stop me. I'm going to go anyway. And I said, I'm going to get my voice back. I set my mind to it and I did it. I tested it with my movement. And I recovered. If I thought about
The program. Something I thought about the other day when I saw you in the studio is that there were a lot of people, and maybe these beings wanted or want the story to be told, but in a more intimate setting. I also want to tell people that even though they are listening to us on the radio, you are at home, and that also means you didn't have to go to a place where there are other human energies. You are at home, I am in the studio. I mean, each one is in their place. It can be heard. I am listening to the interventions while I speak, but I get the impression that these beings, they want the story to be told, but like this, not with so many human witnesses, around you at least.
yes. Well, and I'm going to tell you something that also happened to me some time ago, which I am now trying to become the Moni I used to be, because truly all this about the adoptions affected me a lot, because I was asking myself why. You know, Hector, that I felt telepathically controlled.
Let's see.
I could have meetings with friends. I would go to a meeting with friends and something would tell me to leave, that I go. And I started to feel uncomfortable. When there was no discomfort, I mean, there was nothing that made me uncomfortable. It was a meeting with friends where we got together to eat. And you know that I couldn't tell my friends what was happening to me because they found out now through your program, but I never told them.
You never told this?
No. Look, on Sunday I saw them and they saw the marks. And they all asked me what happened to you. Because since it was hot, I was wearing a tank top. And the marks were more noticeable. And they all asked me what happened to you, what happened there. And I can't tell my story, you know, because I suffered a lot when I was little. And that made me grow up with insecurity in that area. I have always been an insecure woman because, of course, they didn't believe me when I told my story, and I felt very alone for many years from my family, with friends. And the truth is that going to your show was a decision where I said, no, enough, I have to tell this. No, I have to let it go. Of course, because I had kept that inside. And you know what? It did me a lot of good. Even though there are people who might say, no, she wants to be on camera, she wants to be famous. No, I don't want to be on camera, I don't want to be famous. Nothing like that, Hector. I did this because I think it's like therapy. It did me good to let go of what I had kept inside.
Sure. I can imagine. I can imagine what must go through the mind of someone like you, who was abducted, and in the midst of it all, these issues of prejudice, mockery, and being called crazy come up. I want to go back to the abduction or abductions so you can give me some more details. Were you inside a spaceship? Have you been to another planet? Do you have memories of interacting with these beings somewhere other than Earth?
Many times. Once I saw myself inside a spaceship, but I will tell you what I saw. I don't know what it means or what it is. Like inside a bubble. inside a bubble, and beings were walking around me, and there was, next to me, something like a stretcher. You saw the stretchers of the hospitals, of the clinics, and I saw instruments that I can also tell you that I don't know, because as it would be another world, I wouldn't know how to explain exactly what they were. But I saw instruments, perhaps then. I saw a very white, bright light and a hallway where you could see them from afar as if I were in a hospital.
Okay.
Lying down in that bubble, I looked at myself and I was inside. I mean, I couldn't move, I couldn't speak either, but I wasn't scared. Because it's like I had memories not complete.
Okay.
That's why I'm telling you in parts. I can't tell you exactly everything because...
Let's see if you can... Sorry, don't forget what you were going to say, but I just want to interject with this. As if those who were abducted experienced the abduction process and suffered a memory wipe. But those who remember fragments, it would seem that you managed to bypass that. Oh, I'm hearing some terrible interruptions. It would seem that you managed to bypass that memory wipe and thus have flashes of things you experienced, but not the complete memory. I don't know if you share this hypothesis.
Yes. Then also one day I remember, but clearly, when at this moment I was telling you that I was being abducted, and once I also remember the same, that I was on a stretcher, there were these gray beings, and I see as if they were doing something to me, but I didn't feel anything. That's why I tell you, when I wake up with the marks, I don't have any pain.
Mm-hmm.
The pain was when I woke up with a mark on my buttock, which was a burn. And I'm sure because, when it's a burn, when it's a bruise, that was a burn. Well, so I was lying down and I saw that these beings were doing something to me. And the next day, when I wake up with my jaw. But this is a story that maybe they won't believe it, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I woke up with my jaw, like my face was swollen.
When go to the dentist?
Well, I felt a... Can you hear me?
Yes, I was saying like when you go to the dentist.
Yes. First I go to the doctor and he tells me, you need to see a dentist. I didn't have anything. For a dentist to see me. And he says, look, well, honestly, we don't know what you have, he tells me. We're going to do this and that test. They did panoramic x-rays, a lot of things. And they couldn't figure out what I had. They even did a biopsy. Then they removed something that had stuck, which is impossible. Something was stuck to my jaw, something hard like a stone that can't form overnight. First, they pushed me because they thought it was something liquid, and it was nothing. It wasn't something liquid. And then they told me, well, we're going to do a biopsy and study it. They did a biopsy on me. They took a small piece of what it was and told me it was like a bone. Solid and hard, that was stuck to the jaw, to the bone here.
Yes, how strange.
They operated on me from the inside and removed it. And the doctors told me it was a tumor. Because I couldn't find an explanation, Hector. And I said, no, this is very strange, because I had seen myself in this. In the dream that these beings are doing something with my body. And I say, they implanted something in me. Of course, they implanted something in me. So I am sure of that. So I decided now to undergo a past life regression. And during the past life regression, I start to recount, because let me tell you, in a past life regression, you are in a state of relaxation, but it's not like hypnosis. It's just a state of relaxation. Right? Where you start to recount things that you have stored in the unconscious, or things that happen to you, like these, like flashes that you don't remember. And I start to recount that these beings implanted something in the jaw. And the therapist tells me that they are beings, very harmful robots, because he says they are not, I mean, they are from an extraterrestrial race, but they conduct experiments on people. They experiment on humans. They say they have reproduction problems on their planet. So they use women a lot to procreate because they can't reproduce among themselves. They abduct women and use them. And well, at that moment, I start to recount that they insert a needle into my belly, in the navel. And I was lying down and the therapist had told me to keep my hands close to my body. And suddenly my hands started to rise. And they were positioned about the size of my abdomen, my belly, as if something was growing. And I start to recount there that they were like examining me and that they had implanted an alien in me. I didn't even...
No, you mentioned it during the regression, let's say, but you're talking about the implantation of a fetus.
Of course, yes.
How incredible. Can I ask you something personal at that point? At that moment in your life, had you been a mother?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so you were a mom, you have a son or a daughter?
Yes. But this happened afterward.
Of course, of course. Well, just to piece the puzzle together. Today, for example, your son, your daughter, I don't know, how old are they? My
daughter is 15.
15. I don't know if... I want to ask you, have you talked to your daughter about this? Or has she ever mentioned anything about extraterrestrials to you?
Yes. I have 3 children, Hector. I have a 19-year-old son because his mother is young. A 16-year-old son, and the youngest is 15. They are already quite grown up. They also, when they started to grow up, I sensed that they were going to... I mean, it's not that I sensed. I didn't want them to go through the same things I did. And you know that when they started to grow up, they began to see the same things I did. The lights in the room, once on the floor, a light appeared that illuminated up to the ceiling, and they started experiencing the same things as I did. But they don't remember being abducted. But yes, the lights appear in my house.
Of course, but considering that you were indeed abducted, that you do have memories of implants, that you did have to undergo surgery to remove something strange from your body, that you do remember in a regression having been implanted in your womb with an extraterrestrial creature. Evidently, you are the protagonist of the story. For some reason they choose you, or you are the subject they are experimenting on, but your children are also witnesses to what happens. Only they are not subjects for experimentation. I get the impression that it has to do with that. And after the regression where you recount feeling that a creature was implanted in your womb, how did your life continue? Because there are many cases, and I am hearing robotic voice interventions while I speak, which is not you. I tell people that it's not you speaking, and it's not my voice either as an echo, so something very strange. But, I mean, didn't you have dreams where you saw that creature grow?
When I do, because I did 3 regressions, and I realized that after doing the regressions, it was like I wanted to distance myself from this, because I didn't want to feed my mind with this either, you know? Because at one point I said no, and because people were telling me, you're crazy, you're crazy. I said, no, I don't want to go crazy. So it was like I wanted to give my mental peace a break, let's say. I remember very well one day when I felt very bad. Yes. I had my children by cesarean. I don't know what a natural birth is.
None were natural births.
No, none were natural births. So once I dream and I start to, while I was dreaming, there are dreams where you feel pain while dreaming and you wake up and it hurts. I don't know, maybe you just slept wrong. Well, something like that happened to me while I was dreaming. It was as if I was living it at that moment. I felt labor pains, and I have never felt labor pains. 3 months after I had been abducted, I remember they had implanted in me an alien in my belly, in my womb. 3 months passed, and it was as if they came to retrieve the baby.
Nothing more. Okay, I mean, of course, there it is. It's amazing. It's amazing in the sense, if you will, of the spectacular nature of your story. They used you in an astral way, to put it in some terms, to be the mother of a hybrid. And that hybrid was then taken from you, and maybe it's in another plane, in another dimension, but that creature exists. For some reason, they used your body. They used your body in another dimension or on another plane, right? Because you have the memory of that.
I have the memory of that, but I don't have the memory of interacting with that being that was taken from my womb. Right. I don't exist, in that story. They take it from me because I have flashes, like, same thing. They intervene, they take something out of me, but I don't see what they take out from inside my womb. I can't see because it's like they come to me, not only flashes, but as if the lights go out, and it could happen. I'm always lying on a stretcher, and these beings standing next to me, intervening with me, but I'm always paralyzed. I want to try to address that.
Right. Hey, today I have to put an end to it. We talked quite a bit more about everything we had pending. I know you have more stories, and that this continues, because all the time it's happening, and while I speak, they keep interrupting me, I tell you. All the time you're being monitored by these beings. I would like to talk again next week, to give people time to process your story and keep me updated in case something happens in these days.
Okay. And, well, if we talk next week, I'll tell you the part that made me feel a bit more at ease.
So, did you receive a message? Recently, let's say?
Of course. Yes. Yes, because I have experiences with the evil, as I call it, because my pain is my thought. When it causes you sadness or something, that's not good. You're happy, you're well, you feel fulfilled, that's something good. I have both types of experiences. So later I'd like to tell you the good part, not the bad, because that was all many years ago. How old are you now, Monica?
I'm 39. Okay, well, we'll talk next week and perhaps you can tell me the bright side of this story. Well, I want to thank you for spending these minutes with us tonight. I send you a big kiss. I don't know if you want to leave a phone contact network on air so that other abductees or researchers can get in touch with you.
Well, my Instagram is Moniscandia. And, well, they can find me there.
Well, did anyone write to you after the program the other day?
Yes, many people wrote to me. You know what, Hector? The people who contacted me, honestly, are excellent people. They encouraged me, told me they believed me to stay calm, that I will be fine. I received a very nice message, not a single negative message. And also people wrote to me who felt identified with my case and, well, they asked me questions. It's like I see that for some people this is just beginning.
Of course.
I think it has an end.
No, this is just beginning. And besides, we are in the era of... Sorry, I interrupted you. What, Monica?
This begins, they choose you, and it lasts a lifetime. Because you try to do millions of things so that this wouldn't happen to me, wouldn't occur, would go away, and never. Nothing made this leave my life. I could only live with it.
You have to live with it and you have to share. Because notice that today we were able to do the interview. That's why I realized it was the context that was the problem. Not you. It was the context. It wasn't in a television studio. It wasn't with other human beings around. Even if you don't believe it, it's not the same. I want to tell the people who listen to us and follow us on YouTube, and you will attest to this, Monica. It's not the same as what happens in a television studio where there are hundreds of people behind the camera, cameramen moving people, right? As what just happened now, where you are at home and I am in the studio. The atmosphere is different. There are fewer intrusive energies. It's just you and me. That is very different. Maybe people don't realize this watching it on TV or YouTube. For them, it's the same, but it's not the same for us. I don't know what happened to you.
No, I feel very comfortable. It's like now, this is already the third interview, and I feel like now I can relax more.
Of course, I noticed you were very nervous the first day.
I couldn't speak. The second day, well, I relaxed a bit and now I feel much more comfortable.
The first time you were very nervous, so the interview was short because I saw you trembling. The second time you were less nervous, but everything failed on the channel, WhatsApp got cut off. There were a lot of technical issues that I thought, this can't be happening live. That's why I say, these beings wanted the interview to be like this. Let's say intimate. Intimate, yes.
I think so. Because this has happened to me many times, I'm telling you. Interruption. In meetings with my friends, I had to leave because I felt uncomfortable. And when I got home, I felt fine. But something told me to leave and something told me to look at the sky. I looked at the sky, saw a UFO, and couldn't say anything. I couldn't tell my friends, look, because they might look. And it would already be gone, because it has happened to me that I've seen UFOs many times that pass by quickly or some stay to leave me a message.
Well, we'll continue next week because you have 1,000 stories. Sending you a big kiss. Thank you, Monica, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Monica Gomez Candia. There you see her on screen, those who follow me on YouTube. You can also leave comments below and we will read absolutely everything on the Paranormal Late Night Show.